So up to now, we've been learning a lot about Photoshop interface, different workspaces, bridge, and all the different tools, how to go about transforming an image and saving images. Now it's time to have some fun. We're going to look at various ways of combining images next. Some of the different ways in which you combine images in Photoshop includes swapping out different skies, creating collages, adding backgrounds, swapping heads in a family portrait, masking multiple images for details for a commercial composite. And so learning all the different ways of being able to see from one layer to another is extremely beneficial. And again, so many ways of doing things, and you have to kind of just choose what's best for what it is you're going to be doing for the individual project you're working on. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to cut something out and replace it with another image. And so I'm going to start with the practice door image here, and you're not going to be turning this in, but you're welcome to practice along. So the easiest way to go about combining images is to go ahead and layer two images in the same document. And so I've got my practice door image here, and the other image I'm going to open is Paris. So let me go back to Bridge, and here's Paris. I'm going to select all, so Command or Control A, Command or Control C to copy, and then Command V or Control V to paste. Go ahead and go back to your background layer, duplicate the background layer, and we're going to name that doorway. Top layer, I'm going to name Paris, so it'll be easy for you to identify what I'm doing. I'm going to zoom out, and we can see the Paris image is quite a bit larger than the doorway image. So I'm going to transform my Paris image. Let's bring it a little bit smaller and bring it over. And now I've got a couple of different layers. I'm going to turn the Paris layer off for now. The first way we're going to go about cutting a hole in an image to see is kind of old school, if you will. It's not necessarily best practices, it's definitely a destructive way of doing things. And so I'm going to zoom in. And so the first thing I need to do is I need to select my doorway layer. Then I'm going to select my quick selection tool. And I'm going to go in and get a nice selection of this doorway. Now I'm going to go to the top, and I want to remove part of the selection, so I'm going to hold my Alt key down and drag across the top right here so that I'm just getting the wooden part of the door. So get a nice clean selection, zoom in. We can see I've got some hinges right here on the opposite end as well. But right here I've got an area that I need to clean up, so let me get that. Just refining my selection a little bit here. And now, once I have my selection where I want it to be, I'm going to refine it a little bit. So I'm going to refine the edge by selecting the Refine Edge button in the option bar. I'm going to smooth my selection by a couple of pixels, and then I want to feather my selection. I'll feather it by 0.5. And that's going to give me a nice clean edge to my selection. Now I'll select OK and hit delete. And you can see over here in the layer panel that I'm now missing part of my image. Let me turn off the background layer. It's a little bit easier to see. I'm going to zoom back out. And now I'm going to drag the Paris image to below the doorway. Go ahead and turn it on. And I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to deselect by hitting Command D. Now I've got my Paris image selected. I'm going to transform that. So I hit Command or Control T. Holding the Shift key down, I can drag in on the handlebar in the upper right hand corner and adjust the image however I want. So once I have a placement of the second image where I would like for it to be, I hit Enter to set the transformation, and that's it. Now you're going to do something very similar on page 284. You're going to use window.jpg and formation.jpg, and you're going to make a selection at the end of this spiral right here, and you're going to replace the open area with these planes on the formation.jpg. And when you're through, you're going to name it 7A, your last name, underscore window.psd, and place it in your Chapter 7 folder. And so another way of doing something very similar is using these paste special options. And so I'm going to use my history panel and go back up to my selection. And this time I am going to use, instead of the Paris image, we'll go to Bridge, and I'm going to select the Wheat JPEG image. Go ahead and open that. And now I'm going to be copying and pasting. So I'm going to select all, Command or Control A, and Command or Control C. And that places it on my clipboard. Now I'm going to go back to the practice store image, and then I'm going to go up to Edit and Paste Special. And because I still have my selection made on my doorway, I'm going to select Paste Into. Then I'm going to select my Move tool, and I can move that image around. You can see the doorway behind there, and then here's the image. And it's pasted the Wheat image into my selection. All right, I'm going to go up here and History and go back up to Refine Edge before I did the Paste Into. I'm going to go Edit, Paste Special, and do Paste Outside. And what you're going to see happen there is it is going to paste around my selection. It took the image that I'd copied and pasted onto the clipboard, and it pasted on the outside of my selection. All right, again in my history panel, I am going to go back up to Refine Edge, and I still have my selection made. Now for Paste in Place, all I need to do is have an image in my clipboard, and I'm moving that image over. So I'm going to deselect, so Command or Control D, and Paste in Place will paste the image in the exact same position in the new document. So if it was centered in the old document, it's going to be centered in the new document. And so I again go to Edit, Paste Special, and select Paste in Place. Notice now that I don't have a selection made, Paste Into and Paste Outside aren't even options. So I select Paste in Place, and my image is centered across the new document. Okay, so you're going to do a Paste Into project on page 287. You're going to make a selection. I'm going to go to Browse and Bridge, and I'll show you the two images. You're going to use the window frame image, make a selection within the frame, and you're going to paste the volcano image into that area. And here is the volcano image, and here is the window frame image. So you're going to make a selection within the window frame, and you're going to place the volcano image back there and resize it and transform it to a pleasing view. And then you're going to save that as 7B, your last name, underscore windowframe.psd. Now for 7B, you are only going to do steps 1 through 5 on page 287. So make sure you're only doing steps 1 through 5, then save it as 7B, your last name, underscore windowframe.psd in your chapter 7 file. So this is 7B, your last name, underscore windowframe.psd, and place that in your chapter 7 folder. And that's a really common way of pasting things in Photoshop. This comes in extremely handy when you're creating templates. You can create one template, cut out the different boxes, place the images in, and save them. Now that same paste into technique can be utilized for dropping a new sky into an image. And so on page 290 and 291, you're going to follow the directions using sky.jpg and water.jpg. You're going to make a selection of the sky here on the water JPEG, and you're going to drop this sky.jpg sky into that image. And then you will save that as 7C, your last name, underscore water.psd, and turn that in your chapter 7 folder.